let's get into the practicalities now. Let's actually walk through your process. And what we're going to do today is we're going to pretend that this podcast has grown to the point where I need a team of 20 people running around and doing everything for me. And that it's the time when I need to sit down and say, right, what are our values as an organization? So you're going to approach me like a potential client, and we're going to step through your process so that anybody who is listening or watching understands what you do and maybe can do it themselves. And of course, you've left behind a digital asset for us, which is the framework that you would run through. So it's an amazing asset that you've left behind. Thank you for that. So what's the first thing I'd like to understand is, you're going to come into my organization. Who should be there in the room with you when we do this? Is this a small set of people, sort of the CEO and maybe the head of people? Is it a bigger team? Is it a bigger team from HR? Is it a bunch of people from the company? Who should be in the room to define what these values are for me and my organization?
So we're manifesting the future of Build Your Edge, where we're 20 people. As long as you are in that room, that is the most important, because you as the CEO, the managing director, however you position yourself, you're going to be the person that is accountable for the culture. I'm going to come in and help you, but I'm going to leave. So you're going to be the person that makes sure that this process goes ahead, that you execute it, the behaviors are in place. So as long as you are in the room, that is the most important, because you will then guide it. From there, if you're 20 people, I would actually encourage either we do it with all 21 of you, or we do it with you and your SLT as a starting point. But because there's 21 people, actually, this is an amazing opportunity to bring people on board and build their accountability and help them feel that they are building a company and the values that they really want to be a part of, and then they'll stay longer.
Got it. But I think what I'm picking up there is that if I am not in the room, if me as the figurehead or whatever you want to call me, if me as the person that's got the vision for the company, if I'm not in the room, I'm not bought in, I don't know what the values are, and they're not really going to land. Is that fair?
Exactly. You own the vision. You're accountable for the culture. And I, as the facilitator, am here to manage the conversation and the process. I can help push you, but eventually you're going to be the one who's linking up the vision with the values.
Yeah. And I can't just hand it off to a bunch of people and say, hey, sort the values out for me.
No, because that's one of the biggest blockers, right? We don't see our senior leadership team or our execs demonstrating these behaviors. Well, why should the rest of the company be doing it? Actually, if you're not going to do it, then we're not going to follow suit. And the values, again, go back to meaning nothing. So
Right.
you need to be in
Okay.
there.
Great. So I've collected, let's just say that all of us are in the company. We're small enough that we can all get into a room and we can all sit down and do this as an exercise. So you're here. We don't know what we're doing. What's the very first thing that we should do?
Okay. So I'm in the room. The first thing that I would do, and we'll see this on the first page of the values handout or the values starter kit, is to ask you a few questions to understand who you are as a current organization. And actually, the first question I always ask is, what makes you proud? And it is open-ended, and it is, specifically not specific, so that you as a team can come up with your own answers. And actually, either we can do that in the group setting, but sometimes I like to do it that we do it individually first and then share the stories after. That way people think a little bit more, and then you can pull everything together. But the purpose of asking these open-ended questions to understand who you are as an organization is to naturally identify what words come out amongst the 21 of you.
Right. And if I'm a super dominant CEO, you don't want me just saying, stop, you lot be quiet. The values or the things that I'm proud of are this. And then everyone has to follow suit. You want it to be a collaborative effort that everyone buys into the not just the process, but also the outcome.
Absolutely. Because even though you as a CEO would be leading the work, actually in the workshop and in the room, your input is as equal as everybody else's. And I think that
Yeah.
is really important,
Yeah. But not more equal.
not more equal. And
Got
that's
it.
why sometimes having an external person can help push that a little bit, but we'll make sure that everybody has a voice in that.
So we're in a room together and you're asking these insightful questions, and we're beginning to think to ourselves and answer the questions about what makes us proud and what identifies us. There is a danger, isn't there, that we could end up with either we work really hard to try and come up with a set of unique and specific values, which are just so us, they're so different from everybody else's, or you sort of almost pull out the thesaurus and pick a bunch of words and you sound very much the same as a lot of other companies. What should I be striving for? The ease of being a bit blendy and a bit blur and a bit ordinary, or really putting in the work to come up with something which is uniquely build your edge?
Absolutely the latter. You want people to come and choose to work at Build Your Edge because you are not like any other company. It goes back to the employer value proposition piece and what makes you unique. I've worked with clients where they have created values that reflect the industry that they are in. So there are a few plays on the word, so you know who they are. I worked with values where they want to make it much more fun rather than being serious, and clients who want to be more serious. But it's because the values are a reflection of your culture. So you want it to be unique to you. So absolutely put the time in. We'll do it over 3 workshops rather than one, because you want your people to be bought into it and really reflect the organization that you want to become.
Right. And this still sounds quite aspirational is maybe the wrong word, but you're defining this picture. But there's also a second part, isn't there, which is how we actually act, how we actually behave, how we actually operate. And I know that one of the questions you ask is very much around, at your best, how do you act? Can you talk a bit more about that?
Yes, of course. So, one of the questions, so say we've gone through the first set of questions, which are understanding who we currently are and trying to identify the words. On the second page of the handout, we now have a values bank. And in that values bank, it literally says choose the top 3 to 5 for when you're delivering your best work. Um, so it's like thinking about, say, we have that really negative team that we were talking about earlier who could not come up with a single reason or a positive attribute. But there probably is a time when they've worked to execute to get to a goal. So when you ask the team, when you're delivering your best work, what value has come up for you, you know that that's what the team needs to get to the best place that they need to be.
Okay. And you also talk about understanding what you won't compromise on, which is, I think, a bit different to we want to act with integrity, for example. There will be some things that we just say, we're never, ever going to give up on that one thing.
Well, if we think about one thing that we're never going to give up on, why are we not going to give up on it? If we ask that question and then have the team in the room and start to dissect the reason behind why they're not going to give up on something specific, and let's say, even if it's an arguing team, but they need to get something out for the client, well, they're never going to compromise on the client's outcome. So, actually, does that then tell us that client first becomes one of their core values because that is their driver?
Understand that. That's really good. And that then either becomes a value in and of itself, or it feeds into all of the other values so that they end up with that result.
Absolutely. I actually um, always think that a valuable question to ask around values is, what's the thing that pissed you off the most? Because if you find out what's pissed you off the most and you identify what in that situation has pissed you off, you can
Hmm.
work backwards to then identify what the value is. Because let's say it's the meeting was unorganized and there was no agenda. Well, why is that annoying you? Well, because there is no intentionality, there is no agenda, like, not agenda, but there's no intentionality. And all of a sudden, you've now identified that actually intentionality is really important to you and therefore must be a value.